Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, transforming healthcare in Hull and the East Riding, improving air quality in North Lincolnshire, and a woman is robbed in Scunthorpe. Later in the programme, I'll be joined by Richard Fell, raising awareness of cardiac risk in the young. A plan for the transformation of healthcare in Hull and the East Riding has been published today. The Humber Coast and Vale Sustainability and Transformation Plan has been put together by 21 local authorities and NHS commissions as they aim to save £420 million by 2021. The plan aims to make practical changes to the way health and social care services are delivered during growing demand for services and a long-term skills gap. Emma Latimer, Humber Coast and Vale, said that the vision is that people start well, live well and age well by supporting everyone to manage their own care better and reduce dependence on hospitals. A flood alert has been issued for parts of Hull and Holderness. The Environment Agency issued the warning for the Burstwick and Caingham drains as a result of rising water, with further rainfall expected throughout the evening and a high tide. They say they're monitoring water levels and operating pumps and outfalls as required. They're continuing to monitor the situation, and updates will be issued at floodwarninginformation.service.gov.uk/warnings. Detectives investigating a knife-point robbery at a Scunthorpe bookmaker's earlier this month have released a CCTV image of a man they want to speak to. The image shows a man in the Ladbrokes shop on Ashby Road in Scunthorpe on the 1st of November at about 8 o'clock in the evening. Extensive inquiries have established the circumstances surrounding the robbery, which saw a man enter the bookmakers and make threats towards staff with a knife. He escaped with a sum of cash. Nobody was hurt in the incident. Police are also keen to speak to a man who came to the aid of a woman who was robbed at a cash point in Scunthorpe. The incident took place at about 1:25 p.m. yesterday, when the victim was at the cash point on Frodingham Road with her 9-year-old son, and a man tried to rob her. There was a struggle, and the woman ended up on the floor protecting her bag. A man nearby got out of his car and interrupted the offender, who then fled. On tonight's Hot Topic, I'll be talking to Dr. Vicky Dunn about clean energy in our area. Here's a preview of what she said.
The deep history really is where scientists start, because if you dig back into the rocks, you can say, oh, this was once under a warm sea, or once kind of some kind of jungle was here. And we can see that the Earth has changed over time. We can drill through the ice cores and see what the conditions have been. How much sun, that's one that they can calculate. How much carbon dioxide, how much oxygen, how much from life. So looking back in the past gives scientists quite a lot of data to say this is where we've got to. And you're quite right, conditions have changed over time, but they've changed slowly over millions of years, or tens of thousands of years for ice ages. Never has a species turned up and over a couple of hundred years pumped carbon dioxide into the atmosphere like that.
And you can see that edition in full on Estuary TV tonight at 8 p.m. Now, it's time for Reflections, which this week comes from Pastor Steve Whittington from Jubilee Church in Hull.
The adverts are out and being shared like crazy all over social media. The tunes are coming on in the shops. Some people have already made their cake and puddings. Yes, Christmas is on the way. Now, for Christians, the time before Christmas Day is called Advent. Most of us have heard of the word Advent because of the chocolate window you open up each morning in December. Of course, nowadays, chocolate has been replaced by other things. I saw one thing on social media, 125 the Advent calendar, with gin and vodka behind it. I'm not sure it's great first thing in the morning. Now, of course, Advent calendars began in Germany in the mid-19th century, and the idea was to build a sense of anticipation, opening a little door each day, counting down the numbers until Christmas coming. It was a way of building suspense, increasing expectation for the upcoming celebrations. Traditionally, Advent was one of the times in the Christian year when people were in waiting mode. It was in part waiting for Christmas, but also for something more, for the day when Jesus Christ would return a second time. That was a day to be looked forward to, when finally the world would be put right again, where God would step into history to its full fulfilment. Advent is therefore ultimately about our profound need for two things: hope and justice. Without hope, human life is difficult. It's rare to find moments of total satisfaction where everything seems perfect. See, most of our happiness involves anticipation, waiting for something to happen. And it's the kind of hope for the future that Christians have at Advent. The kid waiting expectantly for Christmas is a picture of happiness, often more so than the day itself, which often leaves behind a little tinge of sadness that the day we've built up for so long is gone so quickly. And of course, we all know that feeling of receiving something or arriving somewhere we've longed for, only to find it wasn't actually what we were longing for after all. We need hope. But so often when we get it, the object of our hope disappoints us. Whether it's a Christmas present, a clean bill of health, or the dream job, so often getting those things doesn't quite match up to our expectations. When hope is absent, we're in despair with no prospect of change. Life can become dissatisfactory. Our capacity for happiness is sometimes tied up with anticipation, and our capacity for happiness is somehow tied up with anticipation and the inability of everything in this life to totally satisfy that hope. It's maybe a hint that we're made for something more than this world can offer. Yet Advent is not just about our deep human need for hope. It's also about the need for justice. For Christians, Advent looks forward to the day when the Son of God will make another entry into the world. This time not quietly into a stable, but it says every eye will see him, the Bible declares. See, judgment is about justice, putting things right. And without justice, the trafficker and the oppressor win. See, ultimately, our deepest desires will be met, not by another gadget under the tree, but when this world will finally be put right, so that children are no longer sold into slavery, refugees can return home, and our broken hearts are healed. And Advent also looks forward to the days when we see signs of that in the future, in the small signs of justice and healing that we're privileged to glimpse in the meantime. We need to hold on to that hope, that even though this world is difficult at times, one day, even if it's beyond our lifetime, justice will come. Without that hope, patience is a waste of time. With it, even in the darkest moments, life can be bearable, even joyful. Advent calendars teach us to wait patiently, and the season of Advent can make us hope expectantly, believing that one day God will make all things good.
Now, this week is Cardiac Risk in the Young Awareness Week, which aims to prevent young, sudden cardiac deaths. Richard Fell is with me to tell us a bit more. Richard, thanks very much for coming in.
Yeah, no problem.
What's going on in this Awareness Week? How should we be more aware?
Basically, CRY, Cardiac Risk in the Young, it's the CRY Awareness Week where they promote what the charity does. It's a charity that looks into why sudden cardiac death happens in the young. 12 young people die each week, and it's getting the awareness out there for the public to.
12 young people die of heart conditions every week, and that's young being sort of under 18, I suppose.
The age bracket's 14 to 35.
Right.
12 young people die each week, where 80% of cases are undiagnosed, which is very high.
And so what happens is you don't think that you've got any heart problem whatsoever at all. Fair enough, because you're young, and then suddenly the first time you do know about a heart problem, that's the last thing you know.
Or if you have a symptom, if you're lucky enough to have a symptom, you can get the right treatment.
What should people do if they're even slightly worried about a pain in the chest?
Go to your doctor. Just persist with your doctor and just get the test.
And this is because we assume we associate cardiac conditions with elderly people overweight or smoke or drink too much, and not with young, fit, healthy people.
No, absolutely no.
Richard, you have a very personal connection to this subject because you lost your son Josh a few years ago.
Yeah, we did. We lost Josh 5 years ago this year. So he was 15. Went out to play football with his friends. Said he felt tired. Laid down. Unfortunately, it was too late. But when his two friends realised there was something wrong, it was too late, and they tried to revive him, and they were aged 15 at the time. and he had no symptoms whatsoever. We thought he was fit and healthy, and obviously he did, and his friends did. Yeah, and then we shouldn't do nothing about it.
And then what, I mean, in that case, is there any sort of way that you can find a cause for this? Is it genetic? Do your parents or grandparents, or is there any sort of way of possible predicting this?
No, not really. You can have tests, which is which is a screening test which carried out risk in the young run nationally. We're trying to get it into schools, or cries as well. But it's just a simple ECG, and that 99% of the time it'd show up that there was a condition, or if there was a problem, that is.
And of course it doesn't matter. I mentioned sort of smoking and being overweight and drinking. Again, at 15, then that's irrelevant, I take it. I mean, there's nothing that you can do to change your lifestyle at that age to keep you safe.
No. I mean, it's normally fit and healthy young children, or youngsters, sorry, who play football or any kind of sport, and even if they don't, and it happens to youngsters who don't play sport as well.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable how it
Well, I
happens.
suppose the sport keeps the fitness levels up, and that's a good thing. Richard, we'll talk a little bit more about the Awareness Week after the break. We'll stop there. Join me then. We'll bring you a roundup of the latest sports action, and there'll be more from Richard. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, a roundup of all the latest sports news, and I'll be talking a little more to Richard Fell about cardiac risk in the Young Awareness Week. Major flood alleviation plans for the Anlaby and East Ella areas of East Yorkshire will go on display next week. Residents are invited to an exhibition to view the proposals, meet officers and ask questions about the plans. The scheme, which is expected to cost around £21 million, is aimed at preventing floods like those that struck the East Riding in 2007. The Anlaby and East Ella Flood Alleviation Scheme, which is still in the planning stages, will see the creation of one collection structure and a large storage lagoon, which will be linked together by a large stormwater culvert and watercourse. Funding has been secured from the Environment Agency and the Humber Local Enterprise Partnership. It'll go on display at East Riding Leisure, Holton Price in Anlaby on the 30th of November from 1:30 to 5:30 in the afternoon. North Lincolnshire Council has identified significant improvements in 2 air quality management areas in the county. The council previously identified Scunthorpe Town and Low Santon as breaches of particulate matter limits. This is the sum of all the solid and liquid particles suspended in the air, many of which are hazardous, including dust, pollen, soot and smoke. Latest data has shown that the particulate levels within Low Santon don't breach the annual mean objective, and some areas of Scunthorpe don't breach the daily mean objective. Details of air quality management in North Lincolnshire can be found by going to the North Lincolnshire Local Government website. Works to improve 2 new site entrances to the Wesley Homes Humberston Meadows development on Humberston Avenue started today in Grimsby. This is highway improvements to reduce traffic speeds and upgrade public transport facilities along Humberston Avenue will also take place, along with the installation of a zebra crossing, refuge islands, footway and bus stop improvements. The work will be carried out in sections with traffic lights in place to control the flow of traffic and protect the workforce. It's estimated the works will last for, well, at least 5 weeks. A new exhibition opens at the Beverley Guildhall on Friday, showing the results of a recent competition to capture the essence of Beverley in photographs. Called Capturing Beverley, it contains over 100 images submitted to the town's Guildhall website over the past year. The exhibition runs until the 24th of February. A series of images from the art gallery collection will also be on display to show how the town has been pictured in the past. I'm still with my guest Richard Fell here talking about CRY, Cardiac Risk in the Young. Richard, it's Cardiac Risk in the Young Awareness Week. I think you're going down to Parliament at some point.
Yes, yeah, my wife and myself are going down to Parliament, Westminster, on Wednesday evening. It's to rally MPs and get MPs on board, see what CRY do, the amazing work they do with the research into why sudden cardiac death happens, and hopefully one day it'll go through Parliament and it'll become the screening will become a standard practice in schools.
Well, how long do you think that'll take? I mean, if that seems to be the obvious answer, is have frequent, at least annual screening. When do we bring that in? Why don't we do it now?
I think it comes down to cost, unfortunately, which you shouldn't put your child's life down to cost. But like everything, things cost, don't they? But it's just getting it on board with the MPs and just hopefully one day it'll get through Parliament.
Well, sure. I mean, I suppose it needs to go through Parliament because it's money that needs to be granted by Parliament, yeah. I suppose, for that purpose. Yeah. Is it? What sort of political support do you have down there?
It's very good, actually. I can't remember the figures, but I mean, Graham Stewart MP for East Yorkshire, he's on board with CRY and various other MPs, and then it's just getting more on board.
How long has CRY been going?
21 years this year.
And what sort of things has it achieved in the 21 years? What have you got sorted out?
Well, CRY, this year they'd screened 100,000 people over the last 21 years, which is a really big achievement. And their research program's getting bigger and bigger. It's just a great charity. I mean, we've known CRY for 5 years since losing Josh. We'd never heard of them before. And they're just a brilliant charity. The research they do, the team they've got, unbelievable. Well,
neither of us are scientists, sadly, so I may be not capable of understanding whatever answers there are. But what research, what has it achieved so far? Are there medicines? Are there new developments, new tests, new ways of analysing the heart?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a medical background or anything, but they're always bringing different papers out on different researches that they've found, on more in-depth ways of finding out what's happening to the heart. It's just things like that.
Yep, sure. Well, don't blame me with science. That's about as much as I can comprehend, I'm afraid. And you're raising money, of course, as well. You need all this costs money. What sort of things are you doing to gather the cash?
Just on Saturday night, we'd been to Hornsey Golf Club where they'd raised £7,000, which will go towards screenings, which we held at CRY, which is in the Josh Fell Memorial Fund. That's it for really this year, and then we start again next year with our annual charity football, ex-Tigers charity football match, which we always hold. And then we've got people who are always contacting saying, can we raise some money for Josh's fund, because it got for local screenings.
Sure. And then that goes through to CRY.
To CRY, yeah.
You better give some of those contact details if people do want to get involved, want to help, want to provide any money or anything like that. How should they get in contact?
Well, locally, they can contact myself. It's richard.fell@brianfell.co.uk. If they want to contact CRY, if you just go on the website, Cardiac Risk in the Young, and then you've found the details there, how to get in touch.
Richard, perfect. Thank you very much, and good luck with the Awareness Week. Thank you so much for coming in. Here's all the sports. Hull City's opportunity to move out of the Premier League's bottom three ended in disappointment on Saturday afternoon as they went down 3-0 at Sunderland. Despite dominating the early going, the Tigers failed to take their chances and now sit a point adrift of safety. Victor Anichibi scored twice and Jermaine Defoe scored the other as Sunderland moved within 2 points of City. On the flip side, Scunthorpe United's flying start to the season continues. They won 1-0 at home to Oldham Athletic thanks to a Scott Wiseman strike late on at Glanford Park. The visitors went down to 10 men when Paul Green was sent off midway through the second half. The Iron are now 6 points clear at the top of League One. Grimsby Town pulled off the standout result of the weekend in League Two. They won 3-0 at league leaders Plymouth Argyle in Marcus Bignot's second game in charge. Omar Bogle scored a double for the second game running to carry the Mariners to victory. Centre-half Danny Collins scored the other goal as Town move into the playoff places. North Ferriby United lifted themselves off the bottom of the National League with a 2-1 win over Sutton United. Sam Topless and Rhys Thompson scored for the Villagers to help them to their first win in 11 games. Hull FC will host the newest club in Rugby League next year in preparation for the 2017 season. The Toronto Wolfpack will be playing in League One. They're the world's first transatlantic professional sports team. FC legend Richard Whiting and former Hull KR and FC man Craig Hall have both signed up with the Canadian outfit. The game will take place at the KCOM Stadium on the 22nd of January. Meanwhile, Hull Kingston Rovers prop Nick Scruton says he's aiming to take the Robins straight back to Super League. The forward, who's signed from Wakefield, says he'd like to avoid the £1 million game this time round, and also says he has a responsibility to nurture the younger players. And finally, in ice hockey, it was double disappointment for the Hull Pirates. They lost 7-3 to the Telford Tigers and 2-0 to the Peterborough Phantoms over the weekend. And that's it for all the sports news. And that's pretty much it for us as well. My thanks to Richard Fell for talking about young people's cardiac risks. Tonight's weather picture is courtesy of Tom Wilson. Perhaps you have a photo you can send in of your local area. Please send it in with any news stories that you might have to our Facebook or Twitter pages, or email news@estuary.tv, or phone Grimsby 01472 31553, details below me, or you can write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN 345BQ. Take a note. That's all from us this evening, I'm afraid. Until tomorrow, good evening.
With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby. With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby.
Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, witnesses are urged to come forward to help with a road collision in Hull, the future of smarter neighbourhoods across North East Lincolnshire, a new centre of scientific excellence comes to Hull, and leading the way in dementia care in Grimsby. And later in tonight's programme, I'll be packing a few punches with Connor Seymour and Paul Kershaw. Before that, Elaine Atkinson tells me about a Victorian experience in Grimsby. Police are seeking information following a road collision in Hull last Tuesday afternoon. The incident happened at around 5:10 on Holwell Road, close to the junction with Oslo Road, when a motocross bike rode up the Grass Central Reservation before colliding with 3 cars. The rider initially fell from the bike but got back on and rode off without exchanging details. A 17-year-old has suffered a facial injury following an attack at Grimsby bus station. The incident happened at around 5 p.m. last Friday when the boy was seated on a bench with friends in the Victoria Street bus station at stand C and was approached by an unknown male. The suspect shouted at him and attacked him with a sharp object. The man left the area on a red BMX-type bike along George Street. The boy was treated at Diana, Princess of Wales Hospital. Detectives are appealing for information following a burglary at a property in Hull. This one happened at about 5:30 p.m. on the 14th of November when a woman knocked on the door of a property in Thornwick Close and asked the 81-year-old resident if she could use the phone. The suspect then entered the property and the victim went into the kitchen to get her a glass of water as requested. The suspect then left with the victim's handbag and its contents. Anyone with information is asked to call Humberside Police on 101. A magnet for talent. That's how the head of global research and development at Reckitt Benckiser in Hull has described a new £105 million centre for scientific excellence in the city. The development was announced by then Chancellor of the Exchequer George Osborne back in 2014 and planning was approved this time last year. Sharon James says the significant cost represents investment in the area and hopes the new site will help to encourage more students to go down the science, technology, engineering and maths route known as STEM.
I think there's a well-known problem in the shortage of STEM graduates and we want to play our part in it because it's fundamental to us as a business to have excellent STEM graduates and very proud to be building this facility to promote that.
I think the people of Hull should be rightly proud. I mean, this is not just an important project for Hull, it's nationally important. In fact, actually, I'd go so far as to say this is internationally significant. So I think this is where some of the next generation of breakthroughs in healthcare and wellness are going to be sort of made. So I think the people of Hull should be extremely proud of what they've got taking shape in the heart of their city.
Well, we've got a long history and heritage in Hull. I mean, we've been here, I think, since 1840. We've got very strong established healthcare base here. Great capabilities, great talent, and basically what this represents is us underpinning that talent and really investing in both the area and in our mission to deliver wellness to our consumers.
As you can see, we are in the midst of construction. Weather recently has not perhaps been on our side, but progress is going bang on schedule, so we're delighted about that. The project is due to take several years. The completion date is penciled in for the spring of 2018, so a lot of work to do between now and when we get there, but in 2018 this will be, as I say, a fantastic new facility in Hull that the city can be proud of.
North Lincolnshire Council Cabinet will meet tomorrow to discuss proposed changes to the street cleaning and grounds maintenance operations in the county. If approved, the proposals will change street cleaning in line with statutory requirements. The options under consideration include a review of the litter bin emptying and cleansing operations and changing the frequency of grass cutting and weed killing on highway verges and open spaces. The existing service costs more than £2 million and the options under consideration reduce costs to between £1.63 million and £1.247 million. From vintage shops to old-fashioned pubs, REM pods are helping to change the quality of life for people with dementia. Designed to recreate rooms from a bygone era, pop-up scenarios include a 50s pub, a cinema and a dance hall. Grimsby's Care for All has purchased 4 pioneering designs.
The REM pods were created by a chap who wanted to support people who suffer with dementia and Alzheimer's. The whole idea was to create an environment for those people to feel comfortable and relaxed in. The experience that he had, basically, he wanted to ensure a lot of people with dementia suffer with short-term memory loss, and so they refer back to past memories. So we wanted to kind of create somewhere that they would recognise and feel comfortable in, and hence the REM pods. We ourselves have purchased 4 different settings. They're kind of like the 1950s, 1960s. As you can see, we're in a pub at the moment. We've also got a dance hall, and we've got a village shop. And again, the concept is that people can come in to those environments, recognise where they are, which a lot of people with dementia can feel disorientated because they're not familiar with the surroundings. So it's about creating an environment that they feel comfortable in, and that's kind of the crux of what they are. The REM pods themselves are pop-up reminiscence areas. Very simple to pop up, you can put them anywhere, but they instantly create transform a simple area into a 1950s scene. Obviously the pub that we have, although not a real pub, gives you the feeling that you know you're in somewhere that you could have been in 60 years ago. So it's about families and friends coming along and bringing the relative into an environment where they can all share memories together. I think the most beneficial thing about the REM pods would be the connections that families can then still make with the relative. Obviously, relatives may forget who their families are, and so this is just another way of being able to connect. We've got lots of memorabilia that people that can prompt memories and strike up conversations, so it's still being able to connect with that person in a different environment. Throughout the whole of December, the pods are going to be available for people to come and visit. But from January next year, we're going to have a timetable of sessions where people can come in and use the pods. Specifically, we've got a dance area, so we're looking at maybe putting on tea dances or afternoon teas. And then obviously we've got the village shop. So again, it's about encouraging people to come in and visit them, not just for people with dementia. You know, this is quite an historical project as well, so you know schools are quite more than welcome to come in and visit the pods. So it's just about inclusion and keeping those people connected.
And I'm joined now by Elaine Atkinson to tell me about this weekend's Victorian experience in Grimsby. Elaine, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in. What's going on?
Grimsby in Bloom, we've organised a Victorian Christmas experience. It's on Saturday, this Saturday coming, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Pavilion, the Duke of York Gardens. So that's Freshney Drive, just off Corporation Road. It's a free event, so nobody has to pay to come in, and we've got various stalls inside, craft stalls, cards, cakes, ornaments, Christmas decorations. We've got Santa arriving on the sleigh that the Rotary Club are going to bring him in with his little elf helper, so children can go and see Santa. We've got a big craft table in the middle, so children can make masks, bookmarks, make Auntie or Granny a Christmas card.
Sounds absolutely frantic, Elaine.
It is frantic, yes, it's been a lot of organisation.
And so how many stalls have you got all in all?
I think we've got about 10.
Okay.
10 various ones, because of the space we didn't want to sort of go too big on the first time, because this is the first time we've done this. So got about 10 different stalls, so all various things. So we've not got 2 of the same.
Okay.
Jewellery, woodworking, crafting, them sort of things.
And there will be sort of Christmassy activities, I suppose.
There will be Christmassy activities. We've got the Earthbound Misfits doing their walkabout on the stilts. So we've got the Snow Queen, and I'm not quite sure who the male is. I'm not sure whether that's an elf on the stilts. They're going to do a few...
well, it could be rude to ask, wouldn't it?
It would, really, wouldn't it?
Especially on stilts.
We've got, they're going to do a few circus skills inside as well to keep the children occupied, but hot soup and a roll and refreshments available, so we're hoping that people will stay all day.
Musical aspects as well?
Yes, there's music. We're going to have background music playing, so we're going to have the carols playing all the time. And then about 6:30 we'll have a free mince pie and non-alcoholic mulled wine.
Yeah.
And then it'll be carols round the Christmas tree up to about 7 o'clock to finish the evening off.
Just to point out that non-alcoholic mulled wine is not mulled wine.
No.
But
we're having to call it non-alcoholic mulled wine.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, this is all being organised by the Grimsby and Bloom. You're not particularly trying to raise lots of money, but if there is any money that's surplus, then that'll go to Grimsby and Bloom.
Yes.
How's that campaign going?
Campaign is, anybody thinks that we're rather slow during the winter, but we're still engaging with a lot of different community groups and getting everybody still getting involved. And we've been doing a lot of work in the Duke of York Gardens themselves, cutting back shrubberies and tidying up areas, so there's no hiding places, so it's allowing more the elderly residents to still be able to walk through the park now during the day without fear of anybody hiding behind these shrubs and whatever. So we've still been working on that.
And is there things that we should be doing in the garden?
Well, yeah, just generally tidying up, getting rid of those leaves so the leaves don't ruin your lawn. So get them raked up, tidy up, cut back any perennials that have died off, and just generally keeping your garden tidy.
That sounds always good advice, and good luck with your big event, Christmas event on Saturday.
Thank you very much, Hugh.
Join me after the break when I'll bring you a roundup of the latest sports news, and I'll be sparring with Connor Seymour and Paul Kershaw. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, all the latest sporting news. And Connor Seymour and Paul Kershaw will be boxing clever. A new fleet of double-decker buses will be provided by Stagecoach as part of Hull 2017. Costing £2.7 million, the environmentally friendly buses have luxury high-backed e-leather seats and USB charging points for passengers who will be able to find emails, travel information and social media. A new social media campaign run by Stagecoach is encouraging people to use local bus services as the smart way to travel in the city, with messages such as "I'm not driving, I'm texting friends" displayed on the new buses. Hull 2017 Technical and Operations Director Chris Clay said the investment is going to benefit both the people of Hull and the many visitors who will come to the city during 2017. The Christmas Festival of Food and Drink will take place in Beverley this weekend. Held at Beverley Minster, it will bring together the best of local food businesses and community groups, with more than 70 stalls offering local produce and Christmas cookery demonstrations. The event's theme is Keep It Local, and the festival will provide a showcase for local producers and growers and community groups. The event is organised by Beverley Town Council in association with the Minster, and it happens on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. A bus service for the residents of East Hulton and Immingham will be cancelled from the 31st of December. Stagecoach East Midlands has decided to terminate the 150 service and increase the frequency of the number 5 bus between Immingham and Grimsby via South Killingholme. From January, this service will operate every 20 minutes. North Lincolnshire Council will be running a new Call Connect flexible bus service to keep East Hulton and North Killingholme residents connected. They can use the bus to go shopping in Barton or Immingham and connect to the number 5 bus to get to Grimsby. The Call Connect service has no set route or timetable, and people can register online. I'm joined now by Paul Kershaw and Connor Seymour to tell me about the rise of amateur and professional boxing shows in Hull and how people can get involved. Gents, welcome. We should identify your various roles. Paul, you're the trainer here.
Yes, I am, yeah. I'm the coach.
And Connor, you're the fighter.
Yeah, I'm the fighter.
There's a particular event coming up quite soon. What's happening, Paul?
Yeah, so on the 10th of December we've got our sort of second professional boxing show coming up, where Connery is boxing one of the local lads, Danny Little, for a British title belt. We've also got 4 other local fighters on the bill. So yeah, it should be a great night.
And where and when is all that happening?
It's at the St Mary's College. That's just on Cranbrook Avenue off Cottingham Road there.
In Hull?
Yeah, in Hull. Yeah, so that's on the 10th of December.
In the evening?
Yes, in the evening, yeah. We're looking to probably start the boxing at about 7:30. So yeah, tickets are on sale for that. £30 standard and £50 ringside.
And Connor, you're going for this title.
Yeah, it's my first title fight, yeah.
And which weight category are you fighting?
I'm fighting for super middleweight, super welterweight, British Challenge belt, which is 11 stone. So far, in my professional career, I've had eight fights now, I'm unbeaten, and it's a step up that I needed. It's really got me fired up in the gym. I'm raring to go for it.
What is it? I mean, amateur sports is easy enough. You just turn up and say, please, can I have a go, I guess. But what is that big step between going from amateur to professional? At what point do you know that you can make a living out of this noble art?
I think the big difference with it is me and myself as an amateur, I didn't really take it serious. I played at it more than anything, whereas now I've turned professional, I live the sport, my full life revolves around it. My partner has to put up with me in and out all the time at the gym, and it's just part of my life now.
And what kind of preparation does it take to be looking at a title fight like this? I mean, is it like Rocky, running around up and down steps and drinking raw eggs all the time?
I think we've come on a bit since then.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like Connor says, it's it's about living the life. It's not just about in the gym; it's out of the gym as well. I mean, that's boxing in general. If you want to be successful at boxing, that's what it's about. It's a lifestyle. But say Connor for this title fight is, really, got into the training three times a day. Training now, strict program. Sparring with some of the top professionals for this, and he's ready for it.
So, I mean, which gym do you work at?
St Paul's, in Marketplace in Hull City Centre.
And so you're in 3 times a day, and what is it? I mean, I take it all sports, and you need the fitness thing.
Yeah.
And it's but the boxing itself is a very specific skill.
Yeah.
Can you learn that, or is that just talent?
It's getting the skill. I think there's some other things that you need that you can't teach, like the heart and stuff like that, especially when you start stepping up through the rounds, because there's parts of the fight where you might not just be relying on your fitness. You might need your heart. You might need guts and stuff like that to get through the fight.
This gym has a bit of form, doesn't it? Gold medals, Luke Campbell.
Yeah, I mean, the gym's been going since the early 40s, and we've had some of the top amateurs from the country for years and years to come. Like you say, Luke Campbell, gold medalist, probably the most famous of all. But we've got some great amateurs in the gym now, some great kids coming through. And it's really good now that we've got the professional shows going again. And that's why we really need the support as well, the people coming to see it, because...
To keep them going.
Yeah, great, to keep them going, put bums on seats, and, and it provides that last little bit of the conveyor belt, really, for St Paul's, bringing all these amateurs through, top amateurs, and then gives them somewhere to go. And like you touched on earlier, eventually maybe earning a living from there, giving them that platform to be seen by these bigger promoters like your Tommy Coyle, your Luke Campbell.
Is it popular? I mean, are there lots of amateurs coming through? Do the people attracted to boxing not necessarily looking for a career out of it, to make money out of it, but just for the pleasure of an ancient sport?
Well, definitely. I mean, at St Paul's we've got 160, 200 members. There's all the way from 5 years old to to people in the late 50s. So all the way through, and not everybody's comes to the gym to look at it, to compete. It's good for keeping fit, mental stimulation and all the rest of it. But
Connor just confirmed that in these fights, nobody gets hurt, do they?
I'm planning on hurting Danny Little on the 10th of December. Yeah.
You've never had any serious injuries?
No, I've never. I got wobbled in one of my fights.
You got wobbled?
Yeah, as a pro, but I didn't do things right leading up to it, and my legs went like jelly. I've never felt like it before, okay. But I showed that heart and I kept fighting, and I won the fight.
I'm sure you will. Good luck, gentlemen. Thank you very much
for
coming in.
Cheers.
Time now for some more sport. Scunthorpe United will try to extend their lead at the top of League One tonight when they play Peterborough United. The Iron have a 6-point cushion ahead of their game at London Road. Tonight's hosts sit 5th in the division. Marcus Bignott has the chance to name an unchanged lineup for Grimsby Town's game against Carlisle tonight. Sean McAllister and Ben Davies remain the only 2 injuries at the club as Town look to kick on from their 3-0 win at the league leaders on Saturday. That said, the Mariners are now 6 home games without a victory. A dream come true. That's how Hull City defender Josh Tymon described his Premier League debut on Saturday, despite it being a 3-0 defeat at Sunderland. He's only 17, he went to school in the city, and he says it was a proud moment for him and his family. Meanwhile, the man he's deputising for, Andrew Robertson, is still on course for a return to action next month. That's according to head coach Mike Phelan, who says the Scottish international is on track for a December comeback. On to rugby union, and Hull Ionians lost 49-13 at home to Amphill. Hull RUFC lost 21-30 at Rosendale, while Scunthorpe also lost. That was a 19-12 defeat to Wharfdale. In Yorkshire 1, Halencians lost 20-10 to Heath. Josh Langford acrobatically dived over for the first after Ryan Barron powered through the line. Prop forward Barron then went over himself, but it was all to no avail. They're now 7th in Yorkshire 1. And that's all for the sport. Now, that's it for tonight. For everything else as well, my thanks to all my guests today. No time, I'm afraid, for a weather picture either. If you have a news story for us, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages, details down here, or email news@estuary.tv, or phone Grimsby 01472 31 553. Write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN 345BQ. Until tomorrow, good evening.
With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby.
Hello there and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Tonight will be cloudy with outbreaks of some rain, light winds and becoming chilly with lows of 3 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow, cloudy with patchy rain, becoming dry and bright with sunny spells, and maximum temperatures of 8 degrees.
With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby.
Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, further details of the first season of Hull 2017 are announced. Further reaction to boundary changes set to split Grimsby, and sentencing for a group of fraudsters who targeted our area. And joining me on the sofa in the second part of tonight's news, Terry Clark, who'll be telling me about frugal art in Grimsby. And before that, poetry with Michael Nilsson. But first, the Chancellor of the Exchequer has been delivering his autumn statement. Among the headlines for our area, Philip Hammond announced a successful joint bid by the Humber LEP and East Riding of Yorkshire Council for improvements to the Jocks Lodge junction near Beverley. That's where the A1079 meets the A164 on the way to Beverley from Hull. Also, the Humber is to receive a share of £556 million of local growth fund, which has been allocated to the Northern Powerhouse. The national living wage is to rise from £7.50 from April, while the autumn statement itself will be abolished. The annual budget will take place in the autumn from next year. 4 men pretending to be police officers to commit fraud in Yorkshire and Humberside have been sentenced to 15 years in total. The group conned over £100,000 out of elderly and vulnerable victims in a nationwide fraud and were sentenced at Leeds Crown Court. They were all from London, although the 60 offences were reported across 13 different areas of England, including Humberside and Lincolnshire. Malik Amar, Shah Ahmed, Ramin Ali and Ruhel Mia admitted conspiracy to commit fraud. The sentences followed a 15-month investigation by the Yorkshire and Humber Regional Organised Crime Unit. More details have been released today of the first season of Hull's year as City of Culture. The first week of Made in Hull will kick off in 2017 as city centre streets and buildings are used for large-scale projections, soundscapes and live performances. It'll be free and it'll run from Sunday the 1st until Saturday the 7th of January, telling the story of the city and its people over the last 75 years. Martin Green, CEO of Hull 2017, says it'll be a thrilling, evocative and thought-provoking start to Hull's year. Grimsby parliamentary constituency might be split in two. The Boundary Commission has recommended that Grimsby be split in two halves, ending the 721-year-old history of Great Grimsby as a single parliamentary borough. One side will be called Grimsby North and Barton, which will incorporate Brigg and Immingham, while Grimsby South and Cleethorpes will extend to Waltham and Humberston. Campaigner Steve Elliott resists the split.
Grimsby is on the cusp of something really big, with the rise of the wind turbines and all the work that's going on with regards to renewables. And it's not at this time that we want to see the town split. We don't want two MPs who could be arguing with each other about the future of Grimsby. We want Grimsby to remain as it is, as a borough, as it has been in the past, with a single MP who is singularly focused on the needs of the town. We are petitioning, we're organising petitions, but also we're organising letters. We're getting people to sign letters which are more effective than just a straight petition, saying that they oppose the changes. And that's going very, very well. We're getting hundreds and hundreds of letters. It's something that people, once you explain to them what's happening, they are on board.
People are being urged to stay away from local hospitals if they're suffering from diarrhoea and or vomiting. 4 wards have been affected by an outbreak of diarrhoea and vomiting at Scunthorpe and Grimsby hospitals. Housing charity Shoreline has announced 6 blocks of flats on Immingham's Washdyke estate will be demolished. Following extensive consultation and majority support from residents, Barnoldsby House, Brigsley House, Horwerby House, Greatcoats House, Laceby House and Wheelsby House will be demolished. 3 blocks, Ashby House, Aylesby House and Bealsby House, will be retained. 64% of residents were in favour of demolition after it was proposed by Shoreline as part of a long-term financial plan. Affected residents have been notified of the decision, and Shoreline will offer a range of compensation options, including rehousing existing tenants, inviting buyback from leaseholders, or offering home loss payments. A new cafe to help combat social isolation on Grimsby's West Marsh will be given the go-ahead if funding is successful. Café Avalon, which will be built inside St Hugh's Community Centre, would provide a space for social groups and accommodate around 50 people. Sandra Mason explains what the cafe will mean to the local community.
The community have come to us to say that, you know, they haven't always got the time to go into town, or they can't get into town for whatever the reason. And the idea behind the cafe really came from a consultation that we had in July from our community. I think, to be honest, as much as we'll be doing nice food, I think the social side of it is going to be one of the biggest things and the key points for us, because people around here, particularly the elderly, wouldn't normally necessarily see people on a regular basis. And we've had a few people that came to the consultation that said they'd be more than happy just to come and sit and have a cup of tea and just watch the world go by. You know, it's just that social contact that elderly people really need. And in terms of the young people, they want somewhere they can bring the young children, maybe have a mother and toddlers group, but have a coffee and have a chat with their friends and neighbours at the same time. And this is what we want to do, try and, you know, encourage all this. People can come and volunteer because actually it's going to be manned by volunteers. It will be overseen by myself. But generally it will be run by volunteers. It will be run by the community for the community, so there'll be nothing set in stone. We will have somebody in charge to make sure that obviously all the food standards are adhered to. But in terms of the planning and what people actually want to see in the cafe and the different groups that use it, it will be very much community focused. And we're just basically around to support people to realise their dreams and to get what they want out of this project. The other side of the project is we have got a lot of groups that have approached us that actually haven't got a budget for room hire, can't afford room hire, but they would love to use the centre as a meeting place. So, for example, art groups, writing groups, mother and toddlers, all sorts of different groups have approached us to say, if you get a cafe, we'd love to come and use the space, we'd buy drinks and food from you, but it would be, the fact that we can come and use your space. And they've looked around the cafe area, and it's going to be ideal. It's got plenty of space, and it's going to be ideal for the purpose. So we want to be able to consider these people as well. A foster care agency locally have also asked us if we could possibly give them a room, and maybe if they're foster carers were able to buy drinks and food from us, they'd like to use us on a regular basis, because again they don't have a budget for room hire. So this is another thing that we'd like to look at as well, possibly opening the doors up to all sorts of options, not just locally but a bit further afield. It is a hub for everyone. It's based around the people that came to the consultation were basically the elderly from this area, and also young single parent families from this area. That just want somewhere that they can go and meet various times of the day. We're not going to restrict them to it's only going to be mornings or it's only going to be evenings. We'll have breakfasts on a Saturday morning, because actually that's what we've been asked for. So, there'll be lots of things going off and lots of different groups and different activities involved in the cafe.
A new selection of poetry taken from over 20 years of writing has been published by a local Grimsby author. Michael Nilsson joins me now to tell me about this latest volume. Michael, thanks very much for coming in. Selected Poems, Volume 2. Now, the Volume 2 is informative.
Yes, there was a first one.
Well, it's informative a little bit more than that.
Oh, right.
What is it? You've been a little more brave, perhaps, a little more less careful, anyway, in selecting poems for the second volume than you were for the first.
Exactly. I've been more revelatory, because with the first one, I was a bit cautious, because I was just dipping my toe in the water. But I've since been reading about if you don't write from the heart, you don't reach people's hearts. You've got to be honest. You've got to express yourself freely. And so I thought I'd be more revelatory and throw caution to the wind.
And you have been quite revelatory. You've touched on some unusual experiences you've had here. Yes. There's a demonic episode.
Well, there was a series of them, but I've condensed them all into one poem. For instance, I was waking up on the threshold of sleep, and I felt this primeval fury course through my veins, and I found myself speaking an incomprehensible language. And right at the end, I said, "Enemy of the host." And then in the threshold, I know it all sounds very bizarre and unlikely, but I swear that it's true.
That's what you want in a poem, Michael. There's nothing wrong with that.
There was a scroll unrolled to some discordant music, and on the scroll it said Ignis Chthonic. And I vividly saw it.
It's underground fire.
Fire of the underworld,
okay.
Precisely. But I didn't know what it meant at the time. And I thought, I wonder if I've subconsciously read that somewhere and I'm reproducing it. But I thought, no, I haven't. And I looked it up in the dictionary, and sure enough, that's what it said.
Michael, I have to stop you there, but will you just read out that one poem that you selected, that we picked up before?
Sure enough.
And it must be quite quick. Sorry to rush you.
Well, this was when I went to Tiffany's in my teens. Unfortunately, it's knocked down now. The building had soul, so when they knocked it down, its memory still lived on. The queues outside the door, the bouncers in their dicky bows letting 2 in at a time, sometimes more. Many of us had been drinking at dinner time and the evening, so we were at least merry when we hit the dance floor. We didn't care how we looked when we danced.
Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, all the latest sports news, and Terry Clark will be telling me about budget art in Grimsby. Campaign to attract visitors to Beverley will be extended for a further year. Launched by Visit Hull and East Yorkshire, or VHAY, to Visit Hull and East Yorkshire, or VHAY, the campaign has so far raised the profile of the town and increased bookings by 30%. The campaign allows coach operators to book trips to the town in advance via the VHAY website. Each booking provides a comprehensive visitor package that includes a meet and greet service, arranged tours or guided walks, and welcome kits for passengers. The scheme was a finalist in 2 categories at the National Coach Tourism Awards 2016, Coach Tourism Innovation and Coach Friendly Destination, and it was praised by the judges. East Riding Councillor Jane Everson said tourism plays a vital role in the local economy, and the council, working through VHAY, aims to provide a quality tourism offer that increases visitor numbers to the area. North Lincolnshire Council is encouraging all carers to discover their rights and the support available as part of Carers' Rights Day this Friday. This year's theme is Missing Out, Know Your Right as a Carer. There are over 19,000 carers in North Lincolnshire alone, or 11% of the population. The council offers support to carers of all ages to find the support they need. The Wellbeing and Young Carers team supports carers aged 5 to 18, and the Family Carer team helps those aged over 18. More information can be found by calling the Family Carer team on 01724 298 393. Sowerby Hall and Gardens has begun its search for green-fingered children with its annual Design a Flower Bed competition. Children from all schools across the East Riding will be invited to submit a design, which will then be created in the flower bed in front of the orangery. The closing date is the 31st of March, and the theme this year is Beside the Seaside. Entry forms can be downloaded by going to www.sowerbyhall.co.uk. Now, a celebration of local art on a shoestring will be exhibited in Grimsby this weekend. Terry Clark joins me now to tell me more. Terry, thank you very much for coming in. Now, this is the shoestring, is the name of the event. Am I misinterpreted in assuming that this is going to be done for absolutely zero money?
Yes,
okay.
Virtually.
Better first of all tell me where and when it's going on.
It's at the number 1 Town Hall Square, which is the Carer Supports Service Office. Me and Dale Mackey are sharing studio spaces within that building, and this is our first sort of promotional event to bring it to the public, make people aware of where we are, and we've invited artists from locally to submit work as well, alongside ours, and no sort of fees involved. We're just hoping that people will submit a donation towards this charity, because it is a charitable fund, and any sales, we're asking the artists to submit 10% again towards the charity.
So this is happening at in Town Hall Square in Grimsby this coming Saturday between 10 and 2 in the afternoon.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and you get a cup of tea.
Oh yes, cup of tea and a few nibbles.
And it is very welcome. It's very much an exhibition for sale there as well.
Yes, all works for sale, or most of it, unless it says not for sale, but generally everything's for sale.
Now, it's you two are clearly the main artists. Just to describe your colleagues' work as well, but just describe your work, if you can, in a brief time.
It's very eclectic. Since doing my degree in Grimsby Institute, it developed my sort of style and approach to art. And you could say apart from fine art, I like life drawing, life portraiture, etc. But I'm involved kind of more with structural elements of the surrounding area. The River Humber, for instance, I did quite a series about the Humber forts, and latterly about some buildings in Hull and Glasgow even, some demolition buildings and kind of structural elements going on all the time.
And you can, in your work, you can see the structure very much.
Oh,
You've got the real feeling for the inside, what holds the thing up.
Yes,
What makes that space
That's right,
stand.
what it's made from and the solidity of a structure.
And it's you and you, there are two of you,
Yes.
the main exhibitors here.
Yes, Dale Mackey and myself, we're the artists who are operating from the studios within that building. The other people is about 20 plus artists submitted work, so it'll be quite a selection.
And why Shoestring?
Because it's our first sort of event, and we hadn't money to spend a fortune on the...
Well, you're still giving everyone a cup of tea.
We're still giving a cup of tea, and hopefully the care support are very supportive to the event, and they're going to sort of put on some tea and coffee and things like that.
We don't, in Grimsby, we don't really have any other art gallery nowadays, do we?
Not a dedicated gallery space like the Ferrens in Hull, for instance.
No.
We've got the Fish and Heritage Centre, which has some gallery spaces and which promotes the collection of Grimsby.
But that's just if you're interested in maritime painting. There are other schools of painting to enjoy.
Yeah, you can rent a space there. You know, it's quite a waiting list for it. And the Discovery Centre in Cleethorpes is a new venture that's taking place by a local artist, Linda Ingham. She's promoting a number of art events, which is one at the moment called what's the word now? Something about present, anyway. Gifted and Present is the title, which is featured towards people buying some for affordable art for Christmas, for instance, some gifts and artwork.
Well, art is for life, not just for Christmas,
yes.
Terry, but thank you very much. Just before, I should also, Michael's book is Selected Poems Volume 2, Michael Nilsson, available from Waterstones and Amazon at £9.99. Your exhibition, also highly recommended. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Time now for the sport. Kevin Van Veen and Neil Bishop were on the score sheet last night to help Scunthorpe United register their 5th straight win in League One. They're still 6 points clear at the top of the division after the 2-0 success at Peterborough United. Last night's opponents have dropped down to 6th. Meanwhile, Marcus Bignot's unbeaten start to life at Grimsby Town continues. His side drew 2-2 with Carlisle at Blundell Park yesterday evening. Tom Balarinwa was called into the side for the game and was the hero, netting the equaliser 12 minutes from time. Omar Bogle scored the other. The Mariners are 6th in League Two. Hull City defender Andrew Robertson has returned to full training today following injury. The Scottish fullback picked up a calf injury in the Tigers' 6-1 defeat to Bournemouth last month, and his comeback now appears to be ahead of schedule. Meanwhile, Abel Hernandez is continuing with his functional rehab and strength work. He's currently 2.5 weeks into an expected 4-week recovery period for the groin injury he sustained against Southampton. North Ferriby United's Ryan Fallowfield says his sole aim is to keep the Villagers in the National League this season. A product of Hull City's youth system, Fallowfield has been brought into the starting 11 in recent weeks, coinciding with the side's upturn in form. And he says he knows the task of retaining their status in the league is difficult, but achievable. Hull FC head coach Lee Radford says there's still room for improvement despite last season's successes. A number of experienced first-team players have returned to training this week, and Radford says they've already identified a number of areas where they were deficient last season and need to improve. That's despite winning the Challenge Cup and finishing 3rd in the Super 8s. And that's all for the sport. And that's it for tonight. Just a reminder, Selected Poems Volume 2 by Michael Nilsson, Waterson's and Amazon, £9.99. Good value. This is not your slim volume of poetry. And Shoestring Art Exhibition at No. 1 Town Hall Square in Grimsby, this coming Saturday the 26th between 2 p.m, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And this has been a very artistic programme. Terry, thank you very much for coming in. Just time to show another weather picture, courtesy of Pete Barwick. This is of the dock beside Prince's Dock Street, near to the entrance of Prince's Quay in Hull. I would suggest that might be called Prince's Dock. If you've a picture for us or you have a news story that you'd like to send us, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages. The details might appear below me. They have. Email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 01472 31553 or write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN 34 5BQ. That's it for today. Until for tomorrow, good evening.
With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby. Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Tonight will be dry and cold with clear spells. A little frost and light winds are expected with lows of -1 degrees. Tomorrow will be dry and bright with variable winds but staying cold. Overnight frosts and highs of 9 degrees. With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby.
Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, a teenager dies following a crash in Winterton. Hull's WASPy group say they will not go away, and tapping the potential of the Lincolnshire Wolds. And in tonight's programme, I'm joined by Matt Thompson, discussing the Lincolnshire Big Food Debate. A teenage girl has died following a crash in North Lincolnshire last night. The collision happened shortly before 9 o'clock in Winterton. A grey Peugeot 207 was moving north towards the A1077 when it left the road and overturned. The teenager travelling in the vehicle was pronounced dead at the scene. 3 other occupants were taken by ambulance to Hull Royal Infirmary, suffering serious but non-life-threatening injuries. A 20-year-old man branded an arrogant and violent bully by a judge has been sentenced to 40 months in prison. Corrie Ford from Grimsby threatened a man with a hammer and forced him to make a cash point withdrawal. He was also sentenced to a further 8 months in jail for a rooftop standoff in September, when the police spent 267 hours and more than £5,000. 50 separate police resources were deployed to the scene in what Judge Paul Watson QC described as a grotesque farce. The Hull Women Against State Pension Inequality Group, known as WASPI, say they will not go away. That's after the Chancellor of the Exchequer's autumn statement yesterday failed to address their campaign for equal pension rights. The group attended a full council meeting in Hull last Thursday to lobby the local authority to bring about fairer changes to their state pension. The council unanimously passed a formal motion of support. Councillor Mary Glue is the chair of the Hull branch of WASPI.
The right thing to be done is to make fair transitional payments to these women that have lost countless thousands of money. 10,000 women are affected in this city, 2.65 million women nationally. I wear my suffrage colours with pride, as I do my WASPI banner. I wear them both. These women, the suffrage women, fought for the right to vote. These women are fighting for the right to a pension.
Hull's £105 million Centre of Scientific Excellence is on schedule for completion by spring 2018. The development was announced by then Chancellor of the Exchequer George Osborne back in 2014, and planning was approved this time last year for the facility at Reckitt Benkeiser's base on Dansom Lane South in Hull. Alex Good is the Business Development and Marketing Director for M&W Group, who are working on the project.
As you can see, we are in the midst of construction. Weather recently has not perhaps been on our side, but progress is going bang on schedule, so we're delighted about that. The project is due to take several years. The completion date is penciled in for the spring of 2018, so a lot of work to do between now and when we get there, but in 2018 this will be, as I say, a fantastic new facility in Hull that the city can be proud of.
Police are appealing for information after a 45-year-old man was found at the roadside in Hull. The man was outside the pharmacy on the corner of Witham and Great Union Street at around 11:30 last Friday. The man had sustained serious injuries to his face and body and was found by a passerby who stopped to help him and call an ambulance. It's not known how he came by his injuries, which are described by investigating officers as unexplained. Anyone with information is asked to call Humberside Police on 101. A plan has been launched to maximise the untapped potential of the Lincolnshire Wolds as a visitor destination. The destination plan is a collaboration between the business community and East Lindsey District Council. It'll include the launch of a new website for the Lincolnshire Wolds. LoveLincolnshireWolds.com will be a hub of information for visitors about local attractions. It'll enable event organisers and businesses to create and manage their own listings. The plan includes world host customer care training for tourism businesses, the establishment of private sector partnerships, and the identification of hidden gems. The Wolds visitor economy is worth approximately £100 million per year. Electric vans are proving to be a healthy addition to a hospital fleet after Hull and East Yorkshire Hospitals NHS Trust took receipt of 3 environmentally friendly vehicles. Each of the vans will cover up to 70 miles a day by transporting samples between pathology departments, delivering medical records between sites and other portering services. The vans can last for up to 106 miles on a single charge. As well as reducing CO2 emissions, the Trust hopes that the vans will save the Trust around £6,000 per year on fuel and other costs. Charging stations have been installed at the Trust's sites. The Boundary Commission has recommended that the Grimsby constituency be split in two, ending a 721-year-old tradition of Great Grimsby being one parliamentary borough. One side will be called Grimsby North and Barton, and the other Grimsby South and Cleethorpes. Campaigner Steve Elliott says the community needs to be kept together as one constituency.
We are a community, a unique community, that has its own MP. And what we don't want is what the Boundary Commission are proposing, and that is at Grimsby, is split down the middle, split in half, and have 2 MPs. And not only 2 MPs, but Grimsby would not in itself have an MP. It would be Grimsby down to Barton, on one side and Grimsby over to Cleethorpes and the Wolds on the other side. And we think that is counterproductive. If they go on the government website, the Boundary Commission website, they will find a petition there that we've set up about not splitting Grimsby, and they can sign online.
The Humberside Police Force has been nominated for a prestigious national award. The force's Night Challenge project, an overnight orienteering experience for young people between 13 and 18 with a negative impression of the police, is in contention for an award. The project aims to educate young people regarding the consequences of their behaviour, with the overall aim of signposting young people to other activities and pathways for the future. The Howard League for Penal Reform's Community Awards celebrate the work of agencies and voluntary organisations providing innovative community services. The winners will be announced next Wednesday at an event in London. Hull's annual Christmas lights switch-on will take place tonight. The celebrations start at the Rose Ball Fountain near Queen's Gardens at 7 o'clock, with the Lord Mayor of Hull and Admiral of the Humber, Councillor Sean Chater, pushing the button at 7:30, along with Hull FC's Kirk Yeaman and 2016's Man of Steel, Danny Horton. The Rose Bowl Fountain will feature 4 8-metre-high Sitka spruce trees decorated with sparkling lights. There'll be road closures in place on Queensdock Avenue, Guildhall Avenue, Alfred Gelder Street and Carr Lane between 6 and 10 this evening. And I'm joined now by Matt Thompson of Grimsby Institute to tell me about an event tomorrow addressing key issues affecting the greater Lincolnshire economy. Matt, thanks very much for coming in.
Hello.
You're sort of the Grimsby Institute representative of the event tomorrow, but who is meeting tomorrow and what are they discussing?
The Greater Lincolnshire LEP will be meeting tomorrow.
That's the Local Enterprise Partnership.
That's correct. Mark Tinsley, who's a member of the Agri-Food Board, will be presenting alongside Melanie On and Martin Vickers locally, and will be joined by a panel of experts.
So they're the two local members of Parliament for Cleethorpes and Immingham and for Great Grimsby.
Correct. And they'll be joined by some experts and panel members to discuss issues related to the agri-food sector.
Why have you got two fairly urban MPs, Cleethorpes and Grimsby, coming along? They're big agricultural constituencies across Grimsby.
Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire in particular, has got a large concentration of seafood manufacturing businesses. So their priority obviously will be about supporting those businesses. And as the debate is being shared out across the county, and this is one of the events that's taking place up here in the north of the county, they'll be here to look at the focus on this particular area and how Greater Lincolnshire can be part of that.
Food isn't, we think immediately of agriculture, where it all starts, but then there's a whole process that it goes through, transport, distribution, processing, especially up on the Humber Bank, and just getting people into market that need it. So what are the aspects that you'll be discussing tomorrow?
The aspects that will be discussed tomorrow will obviously, as a result from June this year, the Brexit and the impact of the Brexit to businesses moving forward and the opportunities that there may be for those businesses, but also along the lines of the potential to increase food trade and exporting in particular with the rest of the world, and the role of new skills, technology that are available in the food sector as well. So part of the debate will be to discuss those issues, but also to look at how investment can be looked at for the food sector as a whole. Greater Lincolnshire is often seen, and Lincolnshire itself is seen as a breadbasket of England, and there's lots of different types of food sources which come out of here, and we supply the rest of the country, and it's one of the largest sectors of manufacturing in the UK.
Just very quickly, we'll take some of those issues one by one after the break, but Brexit, has it traditionally exported much food to the European Union?
There is a lot of food which goes from here to other parts of the EU, and good examples of seafood products which are eaten in the south of the EU, in the Mediterranean sort of countries, but around the EU as well.
We'll have to stop there, Matt. We'll get into the details a little bit later. Join me after the break. We'll be bringing you the latest sporting action and a bit more from Matt Thompson. And welcome back. You're watching SG News. Still to come tonight, all the latest sporting news. And Matt Thompson talks to me a little bit more about food. A plea for parents to display a festive Christmas bauble in the neonatal unit at Grimsby Hospital has been launched. Staff at the unit are putting up a tree so that parents of patients can put up a bauble. Parents can take a bauble to the unit with the name of their baby on it, together with a picture and a date of birth. Baubles can be dropped off at the unit from next Thursday until the 8th of December during visiting times between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. Ward sister Emma Jane Spicer said that Christmas is a time for celebrating, and they want to celebrate all the babies they've looked after on their ward. The baubles will create a lovely festive atmosphere on the unit, she said. The Christmas art market will return to Barton's Rope Walk for a 6th year. Held over 2 days, a total of 38 makers and artists have been selected to take part in the event. They've been selected as they sell original handmade gifts, cards and art. The art market also coincides with the opening weekend of the Rope Walk's annual Studio Artists Show in the Art Space and the Christmas Show in Gallery 1. The event will be held on the 4th and 5th of December from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. Admission is free. The Christmas Festival of Food and Drink will take place in Beverley this weekend. The event happens at Beverley Minster. It'll bring together local food businesses and community groups with more than 70 stalls offering local produce and Christmas cookery demonstrations. The event's theme is Keep It Local, and the festival will provide a showcase for local producers and growers and community groups. The event's organised by Beverley Town Council in association with Beverley Minster, and it happens on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And talking of local food and produce, Matt Thompson rejoins me now for more on the Greater Lincolnshire food debate. Matt, we were talking about the possibilities of Lincolnshire grown and created food being exported to the old EU, what will be the old EU countries, as it were, once we're out of it. But where else can we go for markets? I don't think we're going to be selling Lincolnshire red beef to Argentina.
But there's lots of opportunities for other countries around the world for us to supply products. So the US, there's opportunities for products to be sent to work over there, but also into even Australia and other countries. There's opportunities, and it's opportunities that people need to look at.
Butter to New Zealand would be the final insult.
It's opportunities we need to look at. But I think greater than that, it's also the innovations that we can come up with new products. Yes, at the moment with the fall in pound and concerns and that, raw material costs have gone up for a lot of businesses. However, there's also opportunities for businesses to look at as well in how they can look at local food, local produce for local markets, but also it's about the local food being made available and accessible elsewhere, because there is a demand for British food in other parts of the world. We just perhaps don't exploit it perhaps as adventurously as we perhaps should.
Is there a possibility that there are other food types with the falling pound, with tariff barriers that are likely to come down between us and the European countries, that there are foods from Europe that we've got used to? I'm thinking particularly of local cheeses and all those designated region foods, some kinds of wine and things like that, all the things I like, that we're going to have to start producing that sort of thing much more locally, because we can't afford to buy it in from abroad. There might be a possibility of getting really stinky, smelly, soft cheeses made in Lincolnshire.
There's always opportunities to look at those products, and at the moment probably 50% of the products and foods that we buy are brought into the UK, and so we need to look at some of those aspects about how we can nurture that supply chain as well. That's not to say we get rid of those foods. I think there's lots of good foods out there, but it's also about the premium that we might have to pay on those, which is what we might have to consider as consumers.
It's going to be more expensive one way or another.
Yeah.
One of the reasons is because it's the people who make it are going to be more expensive. There's a new minimum wage announced yesterday by the Chancellor of the Exchequer in the autumn statement, and the chances are that cheap labour from Eastern Europe isn't going to be as accessible, and that's what the industry, the agricultural industry, is dependent upon, especially in the south of the county. Agricultural labour is just going to make food more expensive, isn't it?
Potentially. I think if you were to ask a lot of people about the national living wage, people aren't against those sort of policies. It's about how we enact them and we embrace them as well. And there's a lot of good overseas workers who come into the UK and work and do jobs here, and we need to value them as well.
But will they still be able to come here in 2 years' time after the triggering of Article 50?
It's never stopped us travel. Before the EU, we still travelled the world and people migrate. We can still do those things.
Should we, if we're making more homegrown food, should we be making more homegrown farm labourers as well? I mean, why are we importing labour into our fields? Do we just not have the skills in this country? Are we not training properly?
Part of the issue that we've got in the food sector currently is about our workforce and the skills within our workforce ageing and becoming older. And there's an opportunity for us to develop skills in the workforce. That also links into making the sector attractive to young people as well, because it is very often perceived as a quite a mundane job. But there really are a lot of diverse roles within the sector, professional services, and it's not just about working on a production line. There's the procurement, the buying, the selling of the products, right the way through to HR roles, activities, logistics, supply chain. There really is quite a diverse activity in there.
Now, you're a Grimsby Institute man rather than a food safety expert by background, rather than working for the local enterprise partnership. But how could the LEP, who's organising this debate, how can they contribute? How can they help?
They can help by working with and supporting and working with local businesses to identify where are the skills shortages and needs and gaps, where are the opportunities, and being able to work with them together to devise a plan in way to move forward.
And I suppose also, to some extent, as a lobbyist?
Potentially, yes.
Working on central and local governments together,
yes.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, and the Greater Lincolnshire, I notice Greater Lincolnshire Local Enterprise Partnership rather echoes the possibility of a future mayoralty, but perhaps that's a conversation for another time.
Exactly.
Matt, thanks very much for coming in, and I hope you have a very tasty morning tomorrow.
Thank you.
Here's all the sports news. Graham Alexander will wait for news of the fitness of captain Stephen Dawson before making a decision on his availability for Saturday. The midfielder limped off in Tuesday's victory at Peterborough, but Alexander says it's better than first feared. However, the Iron Boss will wait for the go-ahead from Head of Medical and Sports Science, Chris Burton, before making a final call. Grimsby Town's Danny Collins will sign a new contract at the club. That's according to manager Marcus Bignot, who says that he told the veteran defender that he wants him to stay at Blundell Park. Meanwhile, there's been a change to the team's training today for Bignot to ensure his players are prepared for Saturday's game at Crawley. He says he's aware of the issues that can arise when travelling down south on a Friday, so he's altered their schedule.
We've got a long trip to Crawley on Saturday, so obviously going along the M25 and speaking to the staff from previous times, sometimes they've actually missed that Friday train in terms of travelling and then stopping off halfway down. So we took the risk out and literally, you know, we brought Friday's session forward to this afternoon. So for some of them, they're back out, and so from other players, they're with me in the classroom.
Top scorer Omar Bogle is expected to lead the line again after scoring another 2 goals on Tuesday night, and the town boss says the pair's time together at Solihull means he knows how to get the best out of him.
With Omar, it's, you know, a case I've had him for a long time, so I know him psychologically. I know how to work with him. But to be honest, again, I haven't even had time to work with him individually yet. So there's a lot of things we want to put in place, but for the time being, we've just had to concentrate because the games have just come thick and fast. We've just had to literally go from game to game.
And finally, on the Mariners for now, former defender Paul Futcher has passed away today, aged 60, after illness. He spent 3 years at Blundell Park, helping them to promotion to the old 2nd Division. At one time, he was the most expensive defender in English football. Hull City's Sean Maloney is in line for a return to training late next week. That's according to the club's official website, which says he's currently taking part in outdoor rehabilitation after sustaining a back injury. Hull FC captain Gareth Ellis will start pre-season training next week. However, he says he's already started on gym work with teammates Danny Horton and Danny Washbrook ahead of a return to their County Road training ground. A number of FC's younger players and new signings have already been back for a couple of weeks ahead of the 2017 season. And that's all for the sport. And that's it for tonight. Food-related businesses that would like to be involved in the big food debate, the HE Centre in Grimsby Institute tomorrow morning. If you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages, email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 01472 31553 or write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN34 5BQ. Until tomorrow, from all of us here, good evening.
With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby. Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Tonight will be dry with some light winds. You can expect cloud and patchy frost with lows of 0 degrees. Tomorrow should stay dry with light winds. Variable amounts of cloud are expected with some sun in the north. Highs of 8 degrees. With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby.